It feels like such a long time ago that YouTubers were propping up the Shadows of Mordor because it had the Nemesis system or some shit. Even today, you still see people like complaining, oh, we need to get rid of patents in video games because of the Nemesis system. Again, it was a joke to begin with. The game was a joke. The end game. The fact that people still try and talk about my Nemesis system in 2025 is in and of itself embarrassing. But justice has been served. WB, Warner Brothers, has shut down Monolith, the studio behind Shadows of Mordor. They've shut down the Wonder Woman game. They've shut down a handful of other studios. WB has shut down a number of some of the most overhyped, nonsensical, just ridiculous studios in recent memory, right? Obviously, like Monolith isn't like the cream of the crop when it comes to just overhyped Western studios, but the fact of the matter is that this was an example of something being hyped up as a legit serious video game because of the license, because it was a Lord of the Rings thing, right? Because it had Tolkien's stamp of approval, even though he's been dead for like what, 50 years? Even though he's been dead for decades, people tried to eat this up as some legitimate, serious thing, something that was worthy of attention and respect. This is, it always has been, a complete and total joke. In 2014, we were getting so many more better, superior games on Nintendo platforms, right? That was the year that Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze came out. That was the year, a lot of really great Nintendo games came out in 2014, right? So this idea that people have had that Shadows of Mordor was like one of the best releases of that year was laughable. Always has been. So the fact that they're getting shut down is just a really exciting thing for me, that we won't have to deal with this again, that we won't have to see people like bending over backwards to defend a mediocre product because it's Lord of the Rings, bro. Very, very exciting to see. Now, the other caveat of this, of Warner Brothers shutting down a bunch of things, the Wonder Woman game, after a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors, it has been officially confirmed to be shutting down. Yes, we are not going to be getting Wonder Woman in an Arkham game, I guess. Like, I don't know what they were gonna do with this, because my vision of like what a Wonder Woman game should be, is probably nothing like what they would actually produce. But like, it does need to be said that like, uh, this is something that never should have been announced, that never should have been confirmed, that never should have got any amount of attention or respect. This idea that DC could take a completely irrelevant character like Wonder Woman and give her like a AAA video game experience is just completely laughable, right? Like, they can't even do that for one of their big mainstay characters, Superman. So the fact that they would like do it for Wonder Woman, a character who most people don't know the origin story for, don't know any of the major antagonists, don't know her actual powers or abilities. Like, what does Wonder Woman do other than be like the token female character of DC? Only because she was specifically designed to be a fetishized character, by the way. Like, what does Wonder Woman do? Is like my genuine like question here. Like, what makes her so interesting? Now my belief is that like I could make the character interesting, right? There's certainly things you could do with her. You could definitely like do something with the character concept and like evolve and grow the character, but like that's not what you would be getting out of this game, right? Basically what you would get if Wonder Woman actually got made is just God of War with Wonder Woman as the lead. Is kind of like my impression of how like this comic book stuff works. Is that it's going to be the exact same thing as God of War, only with Wonder Woman instead. So what would happen if this game got produced would be that like Kratos fanboys would be seriously trying to gaslight you into thinking that like Kratos is way more powerful than Wonder Woman, right? Because like they have like a similar background and stuff like they would be trying to tell you that like Kratos is a way better character and has done way more, which is like, all just a gigantic cope, right? Because God of War was never relevant. I make fun of DC characters for being irrelevant, but like that is nothing compared to the glazing that God of War gets, at least right now. Like, so with that being said, like what exactly would WB have done with a Wonder Woman game to make it better or more well received than God of War? Like, I certainly think it's possible because, as much as I don't like DC as a brand in general, like, at the very least, I think Wonder Woman is a more likable character than Kratos. I think she's going like I think a big problem with that is that like with the current year of just like red flags of like a lot of people see a female lead and just think that like by default, at least in the West, that like the character is trying to push an agenda. And that might have been true with this Wonder Woman game, but like I think if they like actually knew what they were doing and actually adapted the character well and actually like came up with like some cool new mechanics for her and stuff like that. Like yeah, I think Wonder Woman could have been better than God of War. Not that that's like saying a whole lot, but like would the general Sony like cocksucking audience like ever acknowledge that? No. So like again, it's I can see why this game got canceled because Wonder Woman is not really that recognizable of a character. Like, she's just going to be seen as being a copycat of an uninspired derivative, like rip-off character like Kratos instead of like, a video game character in armor. It's kind of like how like Geralt of Rivia is seen as like the default dark fantasy action RPG protagonist when like the character himself is just kind of a knockoff of like Elric of Melmanet, right? It's the same kind of mindset. Like the casual, like cocksucking, ignorant audience on PlayStation wouldn't be familiar enough with Wonder Woman to respect what the creators were trying to do with the character in this game. Like it's it's definitely really it was definitely kind of a challenge for them, and I do think that they needed to announce the game with an actual trailer instead of like that teaser image that they just got. Like, oh man, we're giving you Wonder Woman. Like, okay, but is it gonna be good or is it just gonna be like 84 again? Like, again, like we do have to talk about this stuff when it comes to licensed products, when it comes to Warner Bros. Because it feels as if like when it comes to like this company specifically, like people get hyped and excited about the license and not the actual game. Hogwarts Legacy is a really good example. Like, oh, we get to play, we get to explore Hogwarts. Okay, but what's the story gonna be like? What's the setting gonna be like? Like, is it gonna be historically accurate, right? Or are they gonna do like all this, throw all this unnecessary diversity in and ruin the entire experience for everyone? And in the end, that's what they did. So I, the biggest Harry Potter fan, I think on YouTube, yeah, I did not buy or play the game because I, as a fan of the license, understood that the license holders do not have the ability to comprehend and make a high quality product with that license, right? And I think to a certain extent the same is true for like all of the other licenses they hold, Lord of the Rings, DC, everything DC, right? Like they don't have the ability to make compelling, interesting plot lines with these compelling characters. But the general audience eats it up just because it's Batman, it's Wonder Woman, it's Lord of the Rings, it's Harry Potter, without any real regard for the overall quality, right? Like WB in a lot of ways, like 10 years ago, I felt like they were a publisher that had a lot of potential with like, the Batman games, like, being better than like typical licensed game slop, right? But now I kind of see like the opposite side of that where it's like people are praising these products just because of the license and not because of anything else these games have done. When you look at like something like Shadows of Mordor, all anybody cares about is the license. They can glaze all they want, glaze the Nemesis system all they want, but the only reason that this game got any amount of attention at all was because it was a Lord of the Rings thing. And that needs to be talked about more. We have to stop getting excited over seeing an image of Wonder Woman and being told that a AAA game is in production. Like, it wasn't going to happen. Everybody knew it. This has been speculated for years. Even when it was first shown off, people thought there were going to be problems with this. Like, I don't want to see people get excited over licensed games ever. Okay? Like, until they show you real gameplay, they give you a complete breakdown of what the game is going to be like and stuff like that. Like, having the license means absolutely nothing, right? People need to stop acting as if, like, something like Warhammer 40K is worth getting excited about just by seeing like the image of a space marine like walking across a hallway. Like nobody cares. Okay, show us some real gameplay or we're not interested. Okay. So with WB kind of going down the path they've been going with like the failure of Suicide Squad, I think essentially killing the Arkham IP, like the Arkham brand. We really need to see just how things are going to develop and grow from here. Like where people are going to, how people are going to defend WB, how people are going to, what the excuses are gonna be going forward. I hope that people stop being so consumerist when it comes to these kind of products. Like, I do think the era of people revolving their lifestyles around brands like Star Wars or DC really needs to stop because it's just embarrassing. It's cringy. These products aren't all that good. And the audience really needs to accept that. Like, they need to be more discerning and start addressing, thinking about the actual quality of the products they consume.